Husband asked to resign today. My husband was asked to submit a letter of resignation today. Backstory. His company sent him on an international trip for job training. He went on this trip with his supervisor. They were allotted $100 per diem. No receipts required. His supervisor encouraged him to spend the money on whatever. Food, alcohol, other. Told my husband he wouldn't say anything. It's now about 6 weeks since his return and they are asking him to resign over some spending on his expense report that didn't look good to the company, and they couldn't verify the existence of some of the stores he shopped at, so some of the charges appeared fraudulent. They haven't asked him to produce any receipts for the charges to prove what he spent and are just asking him to leave. We are in as. Any advice? Should he suit the letter as requested or try to dispute the issue? Thank you in advance. Do not resign. Do nothing. If they drop it, great. Worst case, they fire him and he gets unemployment. Edit. Also, admit to nothing. They'll use it against him. And keep a paper trail. Throw the supervisor under the bus. I feel like this supervisor purposely told him to spend on things maybe they aren't supposed to get him tripped up. Don't sign anything they've drawn up. Especially a resignation letter. There could be non-compete garbage in it. You want to explore options with an attorney. For about $35, you can call your local bar association to get someone to talk to you to see if you need an attorney. And if so, what it's going to cost. I know someone who traveled overseas on per diem. Had no idea they were supposed to use public transit and racked up a decent bill. If there's an employee handbook defining what is required for spending proof, that would be helpful. Typically, it's only meals and transportation, and beyond that would need to be repaid. Let me consult my lawyer and I'll get back to you, is what he should say. Agree. Don't resign. Also, read the paperwork he signed. A lawyer might truly be the best option. I wouldn't resign. Let them fire, so he can get unemployment. Nah, make em fire him and get unemployment. Do not resign. Supply some receipts. I'm sure he has a few or could get the info from his bank credit card. I had to prove expenses to an employer once after I submitted the expense report on the flight, and then promptly lost my entire bag at the airport that had all my receipts. I was able to get my bank and send me a detailed statement for the time period I was traveling for work, and I was able to prove more than half of my travel expenses by date and vendor code, which is on a detailed statement. Now I had to write a full report explaining this, but it was enough proof to at least get me off the hook for filing a fraud expense report. Seems severe for a $100 per diem. If the charges were iffy, a company would just not reimburse the employee. If a company charge card was used, ask the employee to pay for the inappropriate charges. I would consult a labor expert in your state. How much is the relocation package? To take money from an employee, they either need to agree or they need to sue you and win. Is this package worth the expense of a lawsuit to claw back the cost of the package? Get a lawyer ASAP. Do not voluntarily resign. If they don't want him to work there anymore, they can terminate him. Shady people play the "you need to resign" game so you can't file for unemployment, etc. This happened to me once when I was young and inexperienced, and at the time I didn't realize what the employer was up to. That's the whole point of per diem. You no longer have to submit receipts for food, etc. If you give me $100 per diem, how I spend it is my own choice. Something is really fishy here. Sounds like he was set up to make a bad purchase. Something is off. He's either the fall guy for something or he did some ish he ain't telling you. No company with lenient policy that sends people to travel overseas doesn't suddenly do this without either reason or there being a lot more to it. Do not trust anything they tell you at this point. Read all documentation you received when he was hired. Get a lawyer. Slow down and take breath. As what many users have said, this action is wildly suspicious. Asking to resign and not having to pay back a relocation is very unusual if termination results in the payback. That's a very odd conflict. Is there a job contract? Are there terms in that about the relocation? Was there a specific document signed for the relocation package that spells out what happens if there is a termination or resignation? This very odd what you have described. Most of us have the gut reaction there is about to be some massive fraud. I have a feeling your husband will resign and the company will still demand the relocation money, with the threat of a lawsuit. But since he resigned, he no longer has any standing for unemployment or to fight the demand. As I suspect there is something buried in the relocation agreement that a resignation results in a payback. Pretty common. I really think you need to at least consult with an Arizona licensed attorney that specializes in contracts and employment law. You can search for one here. https://forlawyers/practicetoolsmanagement/memberdirectory/ Do not sign anything. Start communicating in writing. Email is fine. Make them put their demands in writing. The fact that 6 weeks later they are playing this game is another red flag. If this was such a big deal, why wasn't it addressed immediately? What happened to the supervisor that gave him instructions on what he could do? Time to lawyer up. They want him to quit so they don't have to pay more in unemployment tax. If they fire him, your husband can collect unemployment. If he quits, he can't. As for the relocation money, he needs to check the contract he signed. We relocated twice when I was married to my first husband. One contract said 2 years and the other said 1 year. If he quits, he's probably on the hook to repay the money. Per diem does not require justification with receipts. Only reimbursement does. And there are guidelines. So he should not have been submitting any receipts for per diem. Just a count of days x $100. Download a copy of the handbook, anything he signed, offer letters, etc., and consult with a lawyer, but do not blindly resign, unless there's a specific reason to not be fired. Licensing issues typically force termination. Side note: when terminated as employers are required to pay final salary within a specific amount of time, or the employee is entitled to 3x the final pay. Used to be 3 business days, I think it's 7 now, but it's on the local labor website.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.